Harry and Meghan, they have an issue when it comes to their memory and when it comes to the truth.
Harry and I are in the car, and he says, okay, well, my grandmother's there, so you're going to meet her. Oh, great. I loved my grandmother. I used to take care of my grandmother. This is great. He goes, right, do you know how to curtsy? What? Did you know how to curtsy?
And I just thought it was a joke.
I learned it very quickly, right in front of the house. We just practiced and then walked in. And
you and Harry practiced?
Yeah, and Fergie ran out, and she said, are you ready? Do you know how to curtsy? I said, oh, my goodness, you guys.
And I think she's just got so used to lying that maybe, in my opinion, she believes the lies she tells. I don't know, but either way, she's just been so consistently loose with the truth. This is just another example of it. And you make such a great point with the bowing and the curtsying. They teach you how to do it. And aside from anything else, it's actually not hard to curtsy. You put a foot behind, you bend and nod your head. Honestly, you'd have to be the most uncoordinated person in the world not to be able to do it.
Complaining about your hard life, and you're so privileged. It's just so weird. It's ridiculous.
She opens her mouth and a lie comes out.
If you could choose one thing for people to know the truth about you, what would that one thing be?
I just want people to know that I'm a real person.
Shut the f up.
She just always has a habit of twisting the story to meet whatever her current objective is, that it's like it's hard to take anything that she says at face value because it never seems to check out.
She's just become a parody. I just find her so hilarious. Like, if you sat down to write the character of a woman who'd thrown the royal family under the bus, accused them of racism, you've taken the title but you don't want any of the responsibility, and you swan off to California and make rainbow fruit platters. I mean, she's just a joke.
She wants all of the privileges that go along with an identity, but she doesn't want any of the responsibility. She doesn't want to do any of the work. She wants the tiara. She doesn't want the public service.
Live my life really authentically, make choices authentically.
I go back to the authenticity, right? It's what I love. I authentically, organically want to share, but also to be authentic. I wanted to do what felt authentic.
I think we're getting absolutely nothing that's authentic out of it.
Because, yes, Harry and Meghan, they told a complete lie about it because they want people to find their narrative to be, you know, how it is. It's constructed. They've made it out to be something that it really wasn't. But the truth is always the best.
You're goddamn right.
I wonder if you could rewrite your public narrative from scratch. Is there anything that you would do differently?
Yes, I would ask people to tell the truth.
It's lie upon lie upon lie.
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry lied.
Kim Kardashian, with a smile on her face, is accusing the Sussexes of lying.
But guess what? She ain't fooling anyone. She ain't fooling me, that's for sure.
Lovely.
Thank you, so do you.
Before we get into it...
She's lied about her father, Thomas Markle. She's lied about her sister. She's lied about her mother. She's lied about her career. She's lied to Prince Harry about not knowing who members of the royal family are.
Imagine sitting in front of millions of people on the biggest TV platform on the planet and lying. Not little white lies, not misremembered details, but full stories, dramatic, emotional, carefully told that got torn apart one by one. Because here's what's wild. She had every chance to get it right. Cameras, preparation, the whole world watching. These are 15 moments where Meghan Markle went on live television, told her story, and got caught. And don't you dare skip number 13, because that's where her biggest complaint, the one she cried about the most, completely falls apart the second you read one basic policy document. Who is Harry? This one isn't sad. It's not emotional. It's just insulting. Meghan claims that before meeting Prince Harry, she did zero research. No Google search. No Wikipedia. No curious peek at who this man actually was. Just one pure, wholesome question to her friend. Is he kind? That's it. That's what she wants you to believe. A grown woman. A working actress. Someone who has navigated Hollywood, one of the most calculated industries on the planet. And she couldn't find 2 minutes to type a name into a search bar. No curiosity. No due diligence. Just innocence. And we're supposed to just accept that.
I didn't know much about him, and so the only thing that I had asked her when she said she wanted to set us up was, I had one question. I said, well, is he nice? Because if he wasn't kind, it didn't seem like it would make sense.
Into British royalty, the way someone accidentally walks into the wrong restaurant. Except that story falls apart immediately. Longtime friends say she'd been fascinated with the royal family for years. She openly admired Princess Diana. And then there are the photos. Teenage Meghan standing outside Buckingham Palace, posing like someone who knows exactly where she is and why it matters. That's not a coincidence. That's a field trip with intentions. Because here's the thing about genuinely clueless people. They don't collect context. They don't study the symbols. They don't memorize the history. And they definitely don't accidentally end up photographed in front of the most famous monarchy on earth. So what was it? Not innocence, not a surprise, not fate bringing two souls together. It was a carefully constructed first impression delivered perfectly on camera to the entire world. The I didn't even Google him story wasn't charming. It was the opening act. Everything you know about pantyhose is a lie.
This mystery has just been solved.
She told the story like she was describing actual oppression, like someone sat her down and took something from her. The complaint. She was forced to wear nude stockings that didn't match. Her skin tone. That's it. That's the story delivered with the same energy as someone escaping a war zone. Not a policy that ruined her career. Not a rule that threatened her safety. But funny thing, the moment there was money to be made, that trauma disappeared. Those exact same shades she complained about, they quietly showed up in her own brand. Same tones, same concept, different price tag. So, let's be honest about what actually happened. It wasn't oppression. It wasn't control. It was a business opportunity she hadn't found yet. The stockings didn't change. The story did. And nothing exposes a fake grievance faster than watching someone sell it back to you. Because real oppression doesn't come with a checkout button. The secret wedding claim, that broke the internet. This one was designed to make you feel something. Intimate, romantic, soft. Just two people so deeply in love, they couldn't even wait for the big day. According to Meghan, she and Harry secretly married 3 days before the royal wedding the entire world watched. No cameras, no crowds, no billion-dollar production. Just the two of them, a garden, and the Archbishop of Canterbury casually stopping by like a neighbor popping in to borrow sugar. That's the fairy tale she painted. Private, pure, almost too beautiful to question. And that's exactly why you should question it. Because archbishops don't just pop by. They don't perform legally binding ceremonies in someone's back garden on a Wednesday afternoon as a personal favor. That's not how the church works. That's not how marriage law works. That's not how any of this works. But it sounds incredible, and incredible stories have a way of surviving longer than they should.
Is there an inherent tension in trying to be relatable while also being a duchess?
No, I don't find, I'm just being myself. So I think probably it was different several years ago where I couldn't be as vocal and I had to wear nude pantyhose all the time. Let's be honest, that was not very myself. I hadn't seen pantyhose since movies in the 80s when they came in the little egg. That felt a little bit inauthentic, but that's a silly example. But it is an example of when you're able to dress the way you want to dress and you're able to say the things that are true and you're able to show up in the space really organically and authentically. That's being comfortable in your own skin. And that's, of course, had different chapters in my life. But right now, no, I don't feel that I need to prove anything.
But reality didn't care about the aesthetic because weddings aren't feelings. They aren't moments. They are legal events with documents, witnesses, signatures, and dates that don't bend for romance. And the paperwork is very clear. The only marriage that legally happened was the one the entire world watched on that date in that church in front of those cameras. No secret garden ceremony. No private vows 3 days earlier. No quiet, intimate moment before the spectacle. Just the one wedding. The public one. The only real one. But here's where it gets truly remarkable. The Archbishop of Canterbury, the actual man she claimed showed up for this private ceremony, had to personally step in and clarify that what she described would have been completely illegal. Let that sink in. She told a story so disconnected from reality that a senior figure of the Church of England had to go on record and say that did not happen. That's not a misremembered detail. That's not a communication mix-up. That's not a cultural misunderstanding. That is a story that required a church official to publicly correct. And that takes a very specific kind of confidence.
People were saying, hang on a moment, how is that possible and how is that legal? Well, the Archbishop of Canterbury has addressed this for the first time because he has done an interview with the Italian newspaper La Repubblica and he was asked about what happened and he said the legal wedding took place on the Saturday in Windsor, Saturday the 19th of May, 2018. The legal wedding was on Saturday. I signed the wedding certificate, which is a legal document, and I would have committed a serious criminal offence if I signed it knowing it was false.
The spectacle wasn't enough. 2 billion people watching wasn't enough. The historic chapel wasn't enough. The global broadcast, the designer dress, the horse-drawn carriage, the flowers, the crowds, none of it was enough. She needed a version where all that came second, where the world was just the public performance. And the real moment, the intimate one, the meaningful one, happened quietly before any of you were invited, because that's what the secret wedding story actually does. It takes the most watched royal event in a generation and reframes it as a backup plan. You got the show. She got the real thing. Except the real thing never happened. The photogate lie that fooled everyone. This one should have been nothing. A birthday party, a photo, a fun night at Kris Jenner's 70th celebration. Normal people call that a memory. Meghan called it crisis. Why? Because someone posted a photo of her without asking first. That's the emergency. That's the violation. One photo, no permission. But here's what makes this hard to take seriously. This is the same woman who signed a multi-million-dollar Netflix deal to let cameras follow her entire life. So unauthorized photos are a nightmare. But an international streaming audience watching your bedroom conversations, that's fine. It was never about privacy. It was about who was holding the remote.
Kris Jenner's 70th birthday party invitation. These two had been trying for so long. Well, I say these two, you know who, had been trying for so long to get into that mix. Kris Jenner decides to include a couple of horrendous pictures of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, one where he looks awkward as hell, clearly drunk. And as soon as they went up, of course, because they look so terrible in so many ways, Harry and Meghan aren't happy about it. And so they do a total reverse ferret and start demanding that Kris Jenner and the Kardashians remove all the pictures.
No approval, no heads up, no permission. Just the Kardashians crossing a line. That was the story. That's what the world was supposed to believe until Kim Kardashian opened her mouth. And here's the thing. Kim didn't fight back. She didn't post a clapback. She didn't call a lawyer or cry on camera. She just calmly explained what actually happened. No drama, no tears, just facts. And somehow that was worse, because nothing destroys a carefully built narrative faster than someone who is actually there quietly telling the truth.
You know, we were told that it was totally cool to post. And then after it was posted, I think they realized it was Remembrance Day and they didn't want to be seen at a party, even though it's already up.
Kim's version, they approved the photo. They discussed it. Everyone in that room agreed on what would be posted. And then it went up and suddenly panicked. Not because anyone broke a rule, not because a line was crossed, but because it was Remembrance Day weekend in the UK and the timing made them look terrible. So, what do you do when you make a bad call? Apparently, you rewrite the story. A photo everyone agreed to suddenly became a privacy violation. A fun night out became an act of betrayal. Regret got dressed up as principal, and blame got pointed at the room. There was no form, no rule, no consent that was broken. Just two people who realized too late how bad it looked and chose a much more dramatic explanation than we didn't think it through, who really cried. This one was delivered like a confession. Soft voice, careful pauses, eyes that said, "I've been carrying this pain for a long time." According to Meghan, Kate Middleton, the future Queen of England, Mayer cried during a bridesmaid dress fitting just days before the royal wedding in what was framed as a moment of pure emotional cruelty. Not a disagreement. Not a stressful moment that got out of hand. Cruelty. Kate apparently reduced her to tears over flower girl dresses. And Meghan sat with Oprah and delivered that story with the weight of someone describing a life-changing betrayal. A dress-fitting tears and a villain with perfect hair. That's the story the world received. Carefully packaged, perfectly timed, emotionally devastating. At least that's one version of it.
Did you make Kate cry?
No.
Was there a situation where she might have cried or she could have cried?
No, the reverse happened. And I don't say that to be disparaging to anyone because it was a really hard week of the wedding and she was upset about something, but she owned it and she apologized.
But here's where the story quietly flips and it changes everything. Royal insiders say it wasn't Meghan who cried that day, it was Kate. And not only that, Kate still went out of her way to apologize afterward. Flowers, a note, a genuine attempt to make things right. So, let's think about what actually happened here. A tense moment between two women under enormous pressure before one of the biggest weddings in history. Both stressed, both emotional, both human. That's a real story. That's actually relatable. But that version doesn't trend. That version doesn't make global headlines. That version doesn't position anyone as a victim. So it got edited. The tears got reassigned. The context got removed. And what was left was a clean, simple narrative. One villain, one wounded newcomer, one devastating headline. And it worked for a while because nothing travels faster than a story where the future Queen of England is cast as cold and calculated. Except the person sitting on the other side of that accusation was reportedly mortified. Not defensive, not angry, mortified because the version the world received wasn't what happened.
Kate Middleton is reportedly mortified by claims she made Meghan Markle cry during a wedding feud as a royal expert alleges she's saddened, disappointed.
And once that reversal came out, everything looked different. This wasn't just a he said, she said situation anymore. This wasn't two people remembering the same moment differently. This was a story that got flipped, packaged, and delivered to the world with maximum emotional impact. The narrative stopped being about a tense dress fitting. It stopped being about wedding stress. It stopped being about two women having a difficult moment. It started looking like something much more calculated. Because here's what a PR inversion actually is. You take a moment where you're not the victim, and you reframe it until you are. You remove the details that complicate the story. You keep only what lands hardest. And then you deliver it softly, emotionally, unforgettably. This wasn't a feud. It wasn't cruelty. It wasn't even chaos. It was a swap. Kate's tears became Meghan's tears. Kate's apology became proof of guilt. And a complicated human moment became a clean, shareable headline. The only thing that didn't cooperate was the truth. The One Young World speech that became all about Meghan. At the One Young World Summit, the spotlight was supposed to be on young leaders, people changing their countries, building communities, and fighting real battles most of us will never face. That was the purpose of the event. But when Meghan Markle took the stage, the focus shifted almost immediately. Instead of lifting up the youth in the room, her speech turned inward. In just 7 minutes, she mentioned herself 34 times. Not their work, not their sacrifices, hers. The room was filled with future leaders. Yet, the message kept circling back to Meghan's own story. The summit stopped feeling like a platform for young voices and started sounding like a personal reflection session. Then came the moment that made people pause. Meghan talked about keeping her name card from the event as proof that she belonged there. To critics, that didn't sound inspiring. It sounded insecure, less like encouragement, and more like a quiet request for validation. Instead of saying, "You matter," the message felt like, "Notice me." For many watching, that's when the disconnect became clear. An event designed to celebrate others slowly became centered on one person. The youth faded into the background while Meghan's narrative stayed front and center. That's why this speech still gets replayed and debated. Not because of what it inspired, but because of what it revealed. In a room full of future change makers, the attention somehow found its way back to just one name. I
was so overwhelmed by this experience. I think I even saved my little paper place card that said my name on it. Proof that I was there. And proof that I belonged. Because the truth was, I wasn't sure that I belonged. I was so nervous.
What was supposed to be a celebration of the people in the room quickly turned into something else entirely. Instead of highlighting the attendees, their work, or why they mattered, The event slowly became all about one person. Many viewers described it as a Meghan performance. The focus drifted away from the audience and locked onto Meghan Markle. Her words, her reactions, her presence. Everything revolved around her. The energy in the room changed. Moments meant to uplift others were redirected. Applause followed her stories, not the achievement of the people who were supposed to be honored. The spotlight stayed fixed in one place, even when it clearly wasn't meant to. To critics, this didn't feel accidental. It felt planned, like the event became a stage rather than a shared experience. Instead of celebrating many voices, it centered just one. That's why this moment stood out so much, not because of what was said, but because of who everything was really about. When an event forgets its purpose, people notice. And once they do, they don't forget it. The passport story that changes everything. This one was sold as captivity, not inconvenience, not adjustment, full captivity. Like she was a prisoner staring out of palace windows with nowhere to go. According to Meghan, her passport was taken away, her ID gone, trapped inside the institution with no way out and no control over her own movement. Just a woman locked in a palace, going nowhere. That's the image she painted. That's what she needed you to feel. Because I had a hand in my documents temporarily during a security process. Doesn't make you gasp. It doesn't make you angry on her behalf. But they took my passport. That hits different. That sounds like a hostage situation dressed in designer clothes.
You will recall in that interview with Oprah that Meghan Markle basically said that she'd been trapped and had been invisible for 2 months and didn't go anywhere. And more importantly, one document which belonged to her, her personal passport, had been taken away.
Which makes one thing very hard to explain. Because while she was telling Oprah she couldn't go anywhere, the receipts were telling a completely different story. Paris, Amsterdam, New York, Toronto, joint trips with Harry, solo trips without him, international travel happening regularly, casually like someone with a very healthy passport and absolutely zero restrictions. That's not someone who is trapped. That's someone with a busier travel schedule than most people reading this right now. And here's what makes it worse. These weren't secret trips dug up by investigators. They were publicly documented. Photos, appearances, events, all time-stamped, all real. So either the passport was taken and somehow she kept flying anyway, or the passport story was never really about the passport. One of those explanations makes sense. The other one was told to Oprah.
Meghan claimed she never went anywhere and didn't have a passport. We all now know her itinerary and the fact that she did travel around in that particular period where she claimed she was trapped. So somebody, somewhere along the line, is lying.
Let's pause right here because this is important. You don't misremember 13 trips. You don't accidentally forget airports, layovers, hotel check-ins, and boarding gates. Memory doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. And you absolutely cannot circle the globe without a passport. So, for a story to be true, immigration officers across multiple countries would have had to collectively look the other way. No documentation checks, no passport scans. Just a quiet agreement to ignore the rules out of respect or vibes or royal energy. That's not how airports work. That's not how any of this works. And when you remove the impossible explanations, you're left with only one conclusion. She wasn't trapped. She wasn't grounded. She wasn't silenced. She wasn't invisible. She was traveling freely, repeatedly across the world. The passport wasn't missing, just the honesty exposed in the protocol claim. This one was framed like abandonment, not a learning curve, not an adjustment period. Full abandonment, like they handed her a crown, pointed at a door and said, "Figure it out." According to Meghan, nobody taught her anything. No curtsy lessons, no protocol training, no preparation for one of the most watched, most scrutinized, most publicly demanding roles on the planet. Just vibes and hope, and apparently a lot of guesswork. She was thrown in and left alone, completely unsupported. That's the image she needed you to have. There's just one problem. An etiquette coach existed, not rumored, not disputed. An actual documented professional human being whose entire job was to prepare her for exactly this. So either the coach showed up and somehow taught her nothing, or the nobody helped me story needed a little help itself. Because you can't claim you were left completely unprepared when someone was literally paid to prepare you.
Now let's move on to Meghan and her etiquette coach. I didn't know she had an etiquette coach, but she did. And they taught her the ropes before she met the Queen. Well, they're not too happy because he points out that she squandered a great opportunity to be part of the royal family, cost Harry his opportunity to really serve in the family, but also he taught her all those things that she claimed to be ignorant of. What the coach here claims contradicts Meghan's claims that she didn't know royal protocol and it was all just a mystery to her and just so bizarre.
Yeah. Oh, how do you curtsy? Like ridiculously insulting display.
Like this.
Yeah.
Because the records don't lie. She was assigned formal training, actual structured instruction, step-by-step guidance specifically designed to prepare her for royal life, not a casual chat over tea, a proper documented preparation process. So, this wasn't a case of the institution forgetting. It wasn't negligence. It wasn't indifference. Someone sat down with Meghan and walked her through exactly how this world worked. And then she went on television and told Oprah nobody helped her. But here's where it goes from awkward to genuinely stunning. The coach who actually trained her, the person who was in the room, who did the work, who delivered the guidance, was shocked by the claim, not confused, not mildly surprised, not diplomatically cautious. Shocked. That's a specific reaction. That's the reaction of someone who knows exactly what they did and watched it get erased from the story completely. Because being forgotten is one thing. Being told you never existed by someone you personally trained is something else entirely.
Edmund Fry is in Pasadena, California. He's right out here and lives down the street from us and lived down the street from Meghan. And I went and interviewed him not too long ago. And he actually has we'll show you the space where Meghan sat. And he taught her to have tea with the Queen. He said he's appalled by Meghan's behavior.
Because here's the line that matters. Forgetting details is human. Misremembering timelines is understandable. Nobody expects perfect recall, but denying the existence of a real person who sat across from you and personally trained you, that's not a memory failure. That's a choice. So, let's be very clear about what actually happened here. This wasn't nobody helped me. This was I had help, ignored it, and then pretended it never happened. She wasn't abandoned. She wasn't left to figure things out alone. She wasn't thrown into royal life with no support and no guidance. She had a coach. She had training. She had structure. What she apparently didn't have was the willingness to engage with any of it. Because there's a word for someone who receives full preparation and then claims they received nothing. She wasn't untrained. She was uncooperative. And those two things sound similar, but they tell completely different stories about who is actually responsible for what went wrong. Exposing the lunch ban claim. This one was framed like a prison sentence. Not an adjustment, not a demanding schedule, a full social lockdown, cut off from friends, outings, and anything resembling a normal human life. According to Meghan, royal life didn't just change her world. It erased it. No spontaneous plans, no casual catch-ups, no freedom to just exist like a regular person. Just walls, schedules, and silence. If you had total anonymity for a month, what would you do?
You had total anonymity for a month. What would you do?
I would go grocery shopping every day. I miss grocery shopping so much, though I'm very much on Instacart.
According to Meghan, she wasn't allowed to go out, couldn't see friends, couldn't live like a normal person, just trapped, isolated, a prisoner inside her own life, except the cameras kept catching her doing exactly that. Grocery runs, private outings, casual trips around the city. The kind of relaxed, spontaneous freedom that simply doesn't exist when someone is genuinely restricted. And it wasn't just cameras. Palace insiders quietly said something even more damaging. The isolation wasn't imposed on her from above. She designed it herself. Let that sit for a second. The confinement she described to the world, the walls, the silence, the social lockdown was reportedly a choice. Her choice made by her for her own reasons, which makes the entire narrative almost impossible to take seriously. Because it's very hard to sell captivity when Whole Foods is part of your weekly routine. This wasn't a ban. It wasn't institutional control. It wasn't the royal family cutting her off from the world. It was selective memory carefully constructed, pointed in one direction, and aimed directly at maximum sympathy, the fire that never existed. This one wasn't told. It was performed. Every word chosen, every pause deliberate. This wasn't a memory. This was a scene. According to Meghan, a heater in Archie's nursery caught fire while her baby was sleeping inside. No alarm, no smoke detector, no warning system, just a mysterious smell slowly drifting down the hallway, like something from a thriller. Except this was supposedly her real life, her baby's life, and she delivered it exactly like that. Slow, quiet, devastating.
Speech to women and girls, and we finish the engagement, we get in the car and they say, there's been a fire at the residence. What? There's been a fire in the baby's room. What? Stop. God, I can't believe we haven't talked about this.
The fire was quietly put out. No emergency response, no fire brigade, no official record, no disruption, just a fire in a baby's room. And then nothing. Life went on as normal. But it gets worse because even after all of that, she was still expected to show up to a royal engagement. No recovery time, no take the day, no basic human consideration. Just get dressed, smile, perform. That's the image she needed you to have. A place so cold and institutional, the fire in her baby's room couldn't even get her a single day off. Dangerous and cruel. Packaged together, delivered perfectly.
Supposed to be sleeping in there. And we came back. And of course, as a mother, you go, oh my God, what just... Everyone's in tears. Everyone's shaken. And what did we have to do? Go out and do another official engagement. I said, this doesn't make any sense. Can you just...
How did you not bring him?
I was like, can you just tell people what happened? And so much, I think, optically, the focus ends up being on how it looks instead of how it feels.
Here's the problem. There is no documentation, none, no incident report, no fire brigade record, no confirmation from staff, security, or any palace official. Nobody who was there that night has ever corroborated a single detail. The entire story exists in exactly one place, her retelling. And that matters because real emergencies leave footprints. A fire in a royal residence, especially one involving an infant, would trigger reports, procedures, witnesses, paperwork. Multiple people would know. Multiple records would exist. This one left nothing. No trace, no paper trail, no proof it ever happened at all. So what does that tell us? Because when every previous grievance stops making headlines, something has to change. The stakes get higher. The stories get darker. The details get more cinematic. A dress code becomes oppression. A procedural rule becomes racism. And a faulty heater becomes a fire that almost took her baby with zero evidence it ever burned. This wasn't a documented crisis. It was an escalation. And when a story only survives in telling, not in records, not in reports, not in reality, that's not someone bravely speaking their truth. That's theater with no evidence and no receipts. Stripped of security. This one was framed like betrayal, not a policy change, not a budget decision, a deliberate, targeted punishment. Security yanked away at the exact moment she needed it most. According to Meghan, the protection wasn't removed. It was taken personally, spitefully, like a door being slammed in her face on the way out.
Absolutely not. She has, as we know, talked a load of nonsense. They were protected and would be protected if they were still carrying out the functions of senior members of the royal family.
Except the rules here aren't complicated at all. Taxpayer-funded security is tied to one thing, working royal duties. You do the job, you get the protection. You leave the job, the protection leaves with you. That's not cruelty. That's not punishment. That's just the contract. The same contract that applies to every single person in that position. Experts spelled it out in plain language. While they performed senior royal functions, protection continued. The moment they chose to walk away, they were free to hire their own, which they did immediately with their Netflix money. So, let's be clear about what actually happened. Security wasn't stripped. Responsibility returned. The institution didn't punish them. It simply stopped subsidizing a role they voluntarily abandoned. Because here's the part that gets conveniently left out of betrayal story. They chose to leave. Nobody pushed them out. Nobody forced their hand. They quit publicly, dramatically, and then expected the benefits to follow them out the door. Quitting the role and keeping the perks isn't independence. It's entitlement with a very polished press release. The truth about Archie's racism and his shocking title claim. This wasn't a complaint about paperwork. This wasn't a misunderstanding. She called it racism. Full stop. No qualifier. No maybe. Just the most explosive word she could use, dropped on live television in front of the entire world.
They wanted to know how brown the baby was going to be. They're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby's going to be. I'm like, that's not racist. Because even black people want to know how brown the baby going to be.
According to Meghan, the royal family looked at her unborn child and asked how dark will his skin be, and based on that answer decided he didn't deserve a title. That's not a rumor she heard. That's what she said on camera to Oprah in front of 50 million people.
Of he won't be given security. He's not going to be given a title. Concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What?
But here's what she conveniently left out, and it changes absolutely everything. Titles aren't handed out based on feelings. They don't follow emotion. They follow rules. Specifically a law written in 1917 that clearly states only the monarch's grandchildren automatically receive a royal title. When Archie was born, Charles wasn't king yet, so Archie didn't qualify. Not because of a conversation, not because of a meeting, not because anyone looked at his photo and made a decision, just a rule, an old rule that existed over 100 years before Meghan ever set foot in that palace. And nobody told her this. Nobody explained it. Or did she know and choose the better story anyway? Because here's the part that completely destroys the narrative. The moment Charles became king, Archie received his title automatically. No apology, no pressure campaign, no change of heart. The eligibility kicked in. The title followed, exactly like the rule said it would. So, let's call this what it actually is. A procedural timeline got dressed up as racial prejudice. A constitutional rule got reframed as a secret conspiracy against her son. Because the rule didn't apply, yet doesn't make the front page. It doesn't get you a 2-hour Oprah special. It doesn't make the whole world gasp. But they judged my baby by the color of his skin. That stops everything. The accusation was explosive, emotional, perfectly timed. The reality was a dusty document written in 1917, silenced by the royals. This one was framed as censorship, not guidelines, not royal protocol. For silencing, muted, managed, and forced into quiet obedience by a powerful institution that needed her compliant. According to Meghan, the firm controlled her voice, restricted her actions, and expected total silence, which is a fascinating claim for someone who is absolutely everywhere.
Know how they could expect that after all of this time, we would still just be silent if there is an active role that the firm is playing in perpetuating falsehoods about us.
Because while she was being silenced, she was also guest editing British Vogue, completing 73 official appearances, sitting for BBC and ITV interviews, traveling on royal assignments alongside the Queen herself. That's not silence. That's a media tour most celebrities would pay for. Because here's what silence actually looks like. It looks like no platform, no access, no camera time, no editorial control over one of the most influential fashion magazines on the planet. That's silence. What she had was the opposite. Oppression doesn't usually come with primetime interviews. Censorship doesn't typically include Vogue cover credit. And invisibility rarely looks like constant documented global exposure. So, let's be honest about what was actually happening. This wasn't censorship. It was access. Enormous, enviable, extraordinary access. The problem wasn't that she couldn't speak. The problem was that she couldn't say absolutely anything to anyone at any time without pushback or consequence. And somewhere along the way, that became oppression. The media buried her dad's story. This one was framed as sabotage, not bad timing, not a leak that got out of control, a deliberate, calculated ambush. Tabloids sitting on a story for weeks, waiting, watching, and then dropping it at the exact moment it would hurt the most. According to Meghan, this wasn't accidental. It was targeted. Time for maximum damage, maximum drama, maximum cruelty, right before a wedding, right when the whole world was watching.
Apparently known for a month or so and decided to hold until the Sunday before our wedding because they wanted to create drama.
Except the facts refused to cooperate. Again, the Daily Mail responded simply. The delay wasn't strategy. It wasn't a coordinated attack. It was verification. Checking sources, confirming details, doing the most basic fundamental part of journalism. Not a plot, a process. Because not every delay is malice. And not every coincidence is a conspiracy. This was a media hit job time to destroy her wedding. It was a deadline colliding with reality. And that's the pattern. Not one mistake. Not one misunderstanding. Not one bad edit on one bad day. The same move repeated 13 times. A dramatic claim, a sympathetic pause, a confident delivery on the biggest platforms money can buy, followed by documents, timelines, rules, witnesses, and reality doing exactly what it always does. It doesn't argue. It doesn't shout. It doesn't care about the performance. It just sits there quietly and waits for the story to contradict itself. Because the most revealing part of this entire list isn't any single claim. It's how often the truth didn't even need defending. No counter-interview. No furious palace statement. No rebuttal tour. Just silence and receipts. And when a narrative only holds up until paperwork enters the room, that's not persecution. That's performance failing inspection. So now I want to know which collapse hit you the hardest. The one that unraveled with a calendar? The one that fell apart under a law written in 1917? Or the one that only survived as long as nobody checked? Drop it in the comments right now. And if you spotted the pattern before the explanations even finished, the escalation, the reframing, the selective memory running through all 15, hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Because this didn't happen once. It didn't happen twice. And it absolutely did not happen by accident. Check out my other videos at the top of the screen. And until next time, stay tuned, stay safe, and stay informed. Only on Hollywood Confidential.